Pierre, tell me who is a good role model for you and the reason why.
Um, a good role model for me was my granddad, being one of them. He was real influential in my life as coming out of the early years of my life, which would have been high school, going into college. Um, he just instilled a lot of work ethic in me, something which was a transition from my youth into my older age. Um, so it was just one of those pivotal moments for me.
What are the misconceptions that people think about you?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions about me is once you get to know me, I'm a pretty energetic and full of life type of person. So a lot of people can't believe me when I say that I'm kind of shy uh, because people think that I'm just vibrant and full of life. Uh, but that comes with just me observing you and being more comfortable with you, and then at that time I'm able to have fun. I'm a very fun person to be around. Um, on the other hand of that, uh, I'm kind of a laid back person. So sometimes the misconception is, you know, you can see a laid back person and don't believe that they have a intense work ethic. Like I'm a hard worker. Like everything that I do, I know that I have to go and get it. So even with me being laid back, my personality is still to go get things.
What advice would you give to a young, aspiring individual that was contemplating and following in your footsteps?
Well, a wise man, the commissioner Kevin told me, and I'll never forget it, that no one will ever market you better than you can market yourself. So I live by that today, and I always tell people that nobody's going to support your brand better than you can support yourself, and that brand is being yourself. So for the young adults uh, that's coming up and probably would like to model their life after me, you always have to brand yourself. You have to understand that you are a brand, and nobody care about you more than you care about yourself. So with that being said, I mean, you have to do what's best for you, and you have to work with the mindset that you're trying to make yourself better, and whatever that takes, which most of the time is hard work and dedication, is some of the things that you have to have in order to be successful. I'll just tell them, never give up on yourself. Confidence is key. Like if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. Uh, so I think that's the main thing. It's just being the brand and knowing that you're a brand and being confident in that.
If there was a movie or book about you, what would be the title of the movie or the book?
That's fairly simple. I would go with the title of Diamond in the Rough. Uh, and the reason why I would select that title is I feel like I've always been the hidden gem. And I possess a lot of skills, and the skills that I don't have, I always try to remain in a sense of knowledge. So with that, what I'm saying is I'm always looking to grow. I'm always looking to learn new things. I'm always trying to find new tricks and trades. And I feel like I've been overlooked for a long time. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but the diamond in the rough is one of those things where you uncover that diamond and he finally gets to shine. So I believe in my earlier years, I was that diamond that was kind of covered up, sheltered, and wasn't able to show the beauty of a diamond. But as I began to live life and learn different things about myself and learn different things about what it is that life is about, you start uncovering that diamond, and then you get that glamour, and here I am today.
If your younger self was watching this video, what would you tell him to prepare for the future?
I think I would tell my younger self, never give up. You know, at times you get to a place where you're working hard and you're exerting everything that you have, and you feel like there's no results. It can put you in a place, in a position where you feel like nothing that you do matters. And it's at that moment when you give up, that you stop, that you lose everything that you work for. So I will always tell my younger self, never give up. Although it may not look like things are going through, keep fighting, keep pushing until it breaks.
Tell me your thoughts about race relations, Mr. Andrews. Right now, and there is a wave of police brutality that's going against African American men and women. Your thoughts about that?
My thoughts about that is, I mean, it's a little indifferent probably from a lot of people, but I'm a lover. And so I love all types of people, all shapes, all sizes, all colors, all different backgrounds. I believe that we as people are all individuals and we are all uniquely made and we all have a purpose here on earth. With the recent way that the world is going right now, I believe that there has to be a change. And in order for it to be a change, I believe we as a people have to stand up. But not only us as a people need to stand, but we need to unite like this country was built on. Like, we have to unite as a whole, not just as one race, but all races need to come together for a common goal. I mean, we share this land, so to say. But it's different being an African American in America. I was always raised to do everything to the best of my abilities, but I always knew that I had to do things better than others. And part of that is my skin color. And I mean, that's not anything that this world really hides. I know we're saying that racism is being uncovered, but in reality, as a young African American male, you see it all the time. For our community, we know that it exists. It's just being revealed to the other communities. And I believe that other communities know that it exists, but they're afraid to acknowledge it, and they're afraid that the backlash may be too much for them to continue to live a comfortable life. I mean, I've experienced racism at another level when I was in college, and I mean, that's another story for another time. But I was a college student and I was being arrested for trespassing at a place that I had stayed in, and it was generally just because the area that I was in was an area that was stricken with poverty. So,
What would you say your strengths and weaknesses are?
I think my strength, my main strength will be relationships, if you can use that as a strength. I really believe in building positive relationships. I believe that, you know, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I live by that. So I always try to build positive relationships because they go a long way. I think one of my weaknesses is I'm kind of a loner. You know, although I believe in positive relationships, I kind of stay to myself. You know, it's hard for me as a person to just walk up to somebody and just have a random conversation. But when that opportunity presents itself, as I said, I do engage with someone. I love to build a relationship that has meaning, you know, something that you could gain from, and also myself. So that's it.
Is it very important for a mentor to make the best investment into a mentee?
Is it important? Yes, it's very important. As a mentor, you have the responsibility to have another human being well-being in your hand. That person or mentee and that mentee's guardian, so to say, trust you, and you have an obligation to do everything in your interest to help that mentee become everything that they could become. Now, it's also important for the mentee to understand that it isn't a hand-me-down, or it isn't a here you go. The mentee has a responsibility to do the work, as to say. You have to be willing to learn. You have to be willing to do different things. You have to be willing to be exposed to different things. You have to be open-minded. So it is the responsibility of the mentor to help the mentee be successful, but at the same time, it's the mentee's job to make sure that they're being receptacle of what's being given.
In your opinion, why do you think several athletes are not willing to put in the work to get the job done, and they expect, or they should be privileged to get something without putting in the work?
Well, a lot of times, as student athletes or just athletes in general, we've been placed, speaking from a athlete's perspective, we've been put in places where if you're good enough, people serve you, and when you have ability, sometimes things change, and people give you different things because of the ability that you possess. And sometimes that harms us as young men and young women in our early stages, because we receive things for the abilities that we have. So it goes on that in later years, as you continue to grow, your mentality is that I possess a skill, you owe me something. Well, as we get older, you possess a skill, but there's also other people that possess the same skill that may be on the same scale as you, but they had a piece of humble pie. So people will prefer to deal with the humble athlete than the athlete that's looking for handouts. So you become stuck in this mentality that I'm good enough and you owe me something, so bring it to me. And you lose the sight that the skill that you possess, you had to work for it. And I always tell my student athletes, when it comes down to recruiting, if you're the same athlete that you were when I first saw you, then you're not good enough to be with me 3 years later, because there has to be some progress. You're good enough now, but if you're the same that you were when I first laid eyes on you, that means you're not working and you're not making progress. So in the end, you're not going to be the product that I need you to be.
In your opinion, is it the coach responsibility to guarantee a student athlete a position job in the NFL or NBA or any type of arena?
Is it the coach's job to get them a position? Absolutely not. Again, on both sides holds a responsibility towards the success of how far they go, but I always go back to it. You're a brand. You have to brand yourself. Like, I'm a coach, and I love every kid that I coach, and I'm passionate about what I do, and I believe in helping people. But everybody isn't like that. And for me, it isn't about wins and losses. Like I said before, it's about the relationships that you build. And through those relationships, if you build positive relationships, then you as a coach should want to help that kid get to the next level, or not even the next level. You just want that kid to be as successful as that kid could be. So yes, some of the responsibility is on the coach, but guess what? It's your life. So if the coach doesn't do anything for you, which we have some coaches that just generally don't do things past graduation, what do? You quit, you stop, you depend on the coach to help you become successful, or you pick up your boots, you put your gloves on, you put your hard hat on, and you go to work. Because at the end of the day, no one has to live the life but you. The coach don't have to live the life. The coach don't live the regret. The coach doesn't have the what ifs. So in essence, it's your job as a student athlete to put the work in to get what it is that you want.
Family. Tell me your thoughts about family and how is it important to you in your career?
That's one of my biggest principles, and I'm glad that you asked that. I don't know how familiar you guys are with PJ Fleet, but he's a head football coach for the Minnesota Gophers, and I kind of stole this from him. And we always say that there's nothing new in coaching. We just reuse things. But I live by family. Family means everything to me. And family is part of the reason why I am who I am now. But when you think about family, it's interesting. Because what is family? Is always the question that you ask. Does family just mean, I have the same blood as you, or family mean that you've been around me since I was 2? We're not really family, but I call you family. So what is family? And PJ Fleet told me that family stands for forget about me, I love you. And so I break family down into that. Forget about me, I love you. Well, we live in a society where love is different. So what does love mean to you? Because I can say I love pizza, and in the same breath I can turn around and say, well, I love my wife. So is the love for pizza the same love that I have for my wife? Well, we'll break it down a little further. Love is sacrifice. And what is a sacrifice? A sacrifice is, what would you give up for the person that you love? So that breaks down family. For family, it's not about me, but it's about you. Because I love you, what would I sacrifice for you? And that's why I believe family is important, because in everything that I do, there has to be a sacrifice, and it's so much bigger than me. is so much bigger than me. It's about that family. What am I willing to sacrifice for the greater good of my family?
In your opinion, why do you think athletes never take advantage of opportunity when it is presented to them?
Um, Athletes not taking advantage of opportunities. It could be a number of things. I think one of the main things would be fear. Uh, when it comes down to any opportunity, depending on what type of opportunity it is, you can be fearful that you're not ready for that opportunity. And the way that you get rid of fear is through the work. A lot of people think about, well, how could you be fearful to take an opportunity? Well, it's because I didn't do the work. Doing the work just consists of being prepared. I like to tell the story that as a kid, I tied my shoes. And as an adult, I tried to teach my son how to tie his shoes. And he couldn't tie his shoes. But what helped him learn how to tie his shoes was the practice. That was the work that he put in. He had to practice in order to learn how to tie his shoes. And I can bet you all the money in my bank account that you can tie your shoes right now without looking. You can tie your shoes while having a conversation. It's not hard to tie your shoes because you're confident about tying your shoes because you put in the work. So fear don't set in if somebody, hey, put a gun in your head and say, if you can't tie your shoes, I'm gonna kill you. Because you're prepared. You put the work in. You've practiced. You've done it so many times that you can do it with your eyes closed. And so I believe that because people don't do the work, then when opportunities come, they're fearful because they're not prepared.
In your opinion, tell me the importance of a HBCU.
Whew. Well, we talked about earlier the state and the condition of our current world. And I believe that, us as African Americans should support our HBCUs. They were institutions that were designed for us as a culture, as a race, to attend those schools. We're moving forward, and we know that we're integrated into other schools, but let us not forget that we weren't allowed in all places. So a HBCU isn't for all African Americans, but I believe that as a race, that should be an option. And not only should it be an option, it shouldn't be our last option. I believe a lot of times when we talk about our HBCUs, those universities that were designed for us, those universities that gave us an opportunity to even go to school and to have somewhere to learn and to grow, those things that were designed for us, we don't give it a fair chance. A lot of times we look at it as it's a last option. A lot of times we have the mentality that the other schools are more equipped to teach us, that the other schools are more equipped to have better facilities. From an athletic standpoint, those other institutions have better coaches, or they have better players. Well, we have to think about that. Why is that? When we look at other institutions, those people that are having success look just like you and me. And so in essence, why wouldn't you bring that success to something that was designed for you?